Okay, let's unpack this. Today we're diving deep into a figure whose name is, well, instantly recognizable, Garry Kasparov. But maybe not always for the same reason, depending on who you ask.
Right, he's absolutely synonymous with chess greatness, maybe the greatest ever for many people. But he's also become this really prominent global figure, way beyond the chessboard.
That duality is fascinating, isn't it? The legendary world chess champion, the strategic titan, and then this incredibly outspoken political activist, sometimes controversial.
Exactly. It's a kind of a unique blend, intense focus on one thing, chess, and then this broad engagement with global politics.
Absolutely. So our mission here, using the sources you shared, some biography excerpts, a public talk transcript, is to explore that, try and figure out what connects these different parts of his life.
Yeah, those sources give us a really good foundation. They cover, his early life as a prodigy in the Soviet Union, those epic battles against humans and machines,
Right, the machines.
right up to his current role as a very vocal critic of authoritarianism. It's quite a story.
It really is. So let's start at the beginning. Baku, the chessboard.
Okay, so he was born Garrick Weinstein in Baku, Azerbaijan, SSR, back then. Mixed Jewish and Armenian heritage. And it's interesting, the sources mention he later took his mother's surname, Kasparov, which sounds more Russian.
And his family's history there was complicated.
Very. They actually had to flee Baku in 1990 during the anti-Armenian pogroms, a really traumatic event.
Yeah.
But despite that heritage, the sources say he identifies culturally as Russian. Russian's his native language, his upbringing, learned chess very young, obviously show huge talent early on.
And that talent, it wasn't just potential. His rise was incredibly fast.
Oh, incredibly. At 15, he was the youngest ever to qualify for the USSR Chess Championship. That was a seriously tough tournament.
Wow, 15.
Yeah. Then in 1979, something pretty amazing happened. He wasn't even officially rated by FID, the international body, but he won this major tournament in Banja Luka.
While unrated.
While unrated, and boom, that result just shot him into the world's top 15 players, basically overnight.
That's unreal, like 0 to 60 in chess terms.
Pretty much. Yeah. And the next year, 1980, he cemented it, won the World Junior Championship, officially became a grandmaster, and by 84, another record. Youngest ever world number one. Held that top spot for 12 years straight.
12 years. But, okay, you can't discuss Kasparov without mentioning the rivalry. Karpov.
No way. Anatoly Karpov, their 5 world championship matches, 84 to 90, they were legendary. Captured global attention way beyond just chess fans.
The first one, 84, that was the really weird one, right, huh?
Highly controversial. It was the first to 6 wins format. Very unusual.
Yeah.
Kasparov was the challenger, Karpov the champion. Kasparov went down 4-0 pretty quickly.
Ouch.
Yeah, looked bad. But then he fought back, won some games, drew a ton more. After 48 games, over 5 months, the score was 5-3 for Karpov, but Kasparov had the momentum.
5 months.
Yeah, and then the FID president, Campomanes, just stopped the match. No result. Kasparov was furious, saw it as purely political, saving Karpov.
Okay, so that's where the bad blood with FID really starts heating up. We'll probably come back to that. So the rematch, 1985.
Right. This time, standard format, best of 24 games. And Kasparov, just 22 years old, wins it, 13-11, becomes the youngest world champion ever at that time.
And the sources highlight some key moments.
They do. The final game, game 24, huge pressure, but he wins with the Sicilian defense, apparently quite boldly. And game 16 is singled out, called an all-time chess masterpiece. These weren't just wins. They were deep strategic statements.
And he kept winning against Karpov?
He did. Defended the title against him 3 more times, 86, 87, and 90. It was just this relentless back and forth. Across those 5 matches, 144 games played between them.
144 games.
Insane, right? Kasparov ended up with 21 wins, Karpov 19, and a massive 104 draws. Just shows the intensity and how evenly matched they often were.
So, after conquering the human chess world, Kasparov turns to a new challenge, computers. Which brings us to Deep Blue in 1997.
Yeah, that IBM machine, a huge moment, really, in the history of AI and human capability. Kasparov was the first reigning world champion to actually lose a match to a computer under standard tournament conditions.
And his reaction, according to the sources, was complex. He felt the machine showed something more than just calculation.
Exactly. He mentioned sometimes seeing what felt like deep intelligence and creativity in its moves. It unnerved him because it didn't seem purely, well, mechanical.
Which led to suspicions.
It did. He suspected maybe there was some human help between games, more than the debugging IBM admitted to. IBM denied it, of course. They did eventually publish the logs, and later analysis suggested maybe a programming glitch caused some of those weird creative moves.
But the rematch never happened.
Nope. Plans fell through. He did play other computers later, drew against Deep Jr. and X3D Fritz in 2003, but Deep Blue clearly made a huge impact on his thinking about AI.
The sources talk about that, his reflections on strategy in computers. He points out chess is technically vast, right? 10 to the power of 120 moves or something.
Yeah, he argues pure calculation can't crack it completely, but he also accepts that Moore's Law computers getting faster exponentially means they can practically beat humans now.
He mentions Deep Blue finding a move he missed.
He does. In Game 2 of their match, Deep Blue found a winning line that he, the world champion, completely overlooked. It's a humbling point he makes.
And this connects to his broader ideas about intuition versus calculation.
Right. He feels we tend to sort of undermine the importance of intuition today. We're very data-focused. Intuitive leaps are harder to explain, harder to justify if they go wrong.
He links it to risk-taking.
Yeah, quite strongly. Trusting your gut often means taking a chance, accepting you might be wrong. But he argues that making mistakes is how you learn, how you progress. He even used this analogy like, would explorers like Magellan or Columbus get funding today? They relied on intuition, courage, took huge risks into the unknown. Our culture might be too risk-averse for that now. Progress needs that courage.
Interesting point. Now, besides the games themselves, Kasparov's career was also full of, let's call it chess politics, conflicts with FID.
Oh yeah, that simmering tension from the '84 match kind of boiled over.
Hmm.
In '86, he tried to give players more say, created the Grandmasters Association, the GMA.
To represent the players against FID.
Basically, yeah. It created an uneasy dynamic. And he was very critical of FADE President Campomanes, called it a war to the death at one point. Wow. Strong words, and eventually it led to a complete break. It did. In 1993, there was a big dispute over the World Championship match details. So Kasparov and the challenger, Nigel Short, just broke away, formed their own rival group, the Professional Chess Association, PCA. FIDE's response was to strip Kasparov of the official title.
So suddenly 2 world champions.
Pretty much. Yeah, the official FIDE champion, and then Kasparov holding what many call the classical title under the PCA. He defended that title against Short in '93, then against Vichy and in '95.
And the sources mention some famous games from that era.
Yes, his Rook's Sacrifice novelty in Game 10 against Anand in '95, a really brilliant tactical shot. And his immortal game against Topalov is often cited from around then, too. He was still clearly the world's top-rated player, just outside the official FID structure.
Were there efforts to bring the titles back together?
There were attempts. The Prague Agreement was one initiative. But planned matches against the FID champions, guys like Ponomaryov, Kasimtanov, they kept falling apart. Contract issues, money problems, scheduling conflicts.
Sounds frustrating.
Extremely. The sources suggest he just got fed up. In 2005, he basically said, I'm done waiting for FIDE, stopped trying to reunify the title, and then retired from professional chess later that year, while still ranked #1 in the world.
Walking away to absolute peak. But he didn't vanish from chess entirely?
No, he still plays in faster time control events, exhibitions, and he's done significant coaching. Coach Magnus Carlsen, who then became world #1, helped Hikaru Nakamura, even advised his old rival Anand.
And tried politics within chess again, briefly?
Right, ran for FID president in 2013-14, had Carlsen's backing, but lost to the incumbent president.
Yeah.
So his battles with FID continued in a way.
Okay, so that brings us to the second really distinct chapter of his life. After retiring from pro chess, he pivots hard into political activism, especially in Russia.
Yeah, it's a pretty dramatic shift. From the quiet intensity of chess halls to street protests and direct opposition politics. He started joining these dissenters' marches against the government around 2007.
And it wasn't just symbolic participation. He faced real consequences.
Oh, absolutely. The sources detail arrests, detentions in Moscow in 2007, got a 5-day jail sentence after one rally. He tried to run for president in 2008, but couldn't even rent the required meeting halls, said the system blocked him.
And his stance against Putin is, well, uncompromising based on the sources.
Very much so. He was a key figure in the Putin Must Go campaign in 2010, held meetings with other opposition leaders like Navalny, got arrested and reportedly beaten outside the Pussy Riot trial in 2012, though video evidence later cleared him of charges brought against him.
He used strong language like fascism coming to Russia.
Yes, very strong condemnations of the direction he saw the country going.
Which eventually led him to leave Russia.
Understandably, yes. The sources say he decided to live abroad, mostly in New York City from 2013, citing fear of prosecution. He also got Croatian citizenship in 2014.
And the Russian government's official actions against him have escalated recently?
Significantly, according to the sources. designated a foreign agent in 2022. Then, in March 2024, put on a list of terrorists and extremists. And just a month after that, April 2024, an arrest warrant issued, accusing him of leading a terrorist group.
These are very serious charges.
Extremely serious. He's still active, part of the anti-war committee of Russia, calling for sanctions and pressure against the current regime.
Now, the source material also covers a lot of his views on international affairs. And just to reiterate for everyone listening, we're presenting these as they appear in the sources, impartially, without taking sides ourselves, just conveying the information.
Exactly. So according to the sources, he's called for Crimea to be returned to Ukraine if Putin falls, that got his website blocked in Russia. He's criticized Western leaders over Syria, been very outspoken against Russian anti-gay laws, criticized the Sochi Olympics handling.
And views on other conflicts.
Yeah, the sources mention he advocated military action in the Yugoslav wars, actually got honorary Bosnian citizenship for that. He's made some controversial calls regarding Iraq, Iran, Syria, Saudi Arabia too.
And comments on specific figures and U.S. politics.
Yes, he's condemned Kanye West, criticized Turkey's Erdogan. On U.S. politics, the sources note criticisms of Donald Trump calling him a celebrity showman with racist leanings and authoritarian tendencies. And Mike Pence. He apparently said Pence calling Putin strong was like calling arsenic a strong drink. He's also commented on Bernie Sanders, Elon Musk.
And on Armenia, recalling his family's experience.
Yes, supporting Artsakh independence, Armenian genocide recognition, and often tying it back to his family fleeing the Baku pogroms. Again, these are all views attributed to him in the source material we reviewed.
Okay. So beyond the specific political stances, the sources also give us a glimpse of Kasparov the thinker. Broader ideas, maybe shaped by chess, maybe by life.
Right, like his reflections on just making decisions. How tricky it is to know how much time to spend, how to gauge a decision's real importance before you see the outcome.
Which brings us back to intuition again.
Exactly. He really believes it's undervalued in our culture, linked to risk, needing courage to trust it, and crucially, being willing to learn from mistakes. That explorer analogy fits right in. His book, The World of Fake Values, seems to explore these themes too.
He also talks about talent versus hard work in achieving success.
Yeah, drawing from chess. He says, look, to be world champion, you need exceptional talent. It's table stakes. But, he stresses, it's not enough. You also need character, luck, and just sheer hard work.
But he also suggests high achievement isn't only for the exceptionally talented.
Right, he balances it. Says reaching a really high level, maybe not the absolute top, but very high, is possible with more ordinary talent if you put in extraordinary effort. It's kind of encouraging, acknowledging both elite demands and general potential.
And his thoughts on modern chess, learning all the databases and computers available now.
It's interesting. He notes young players today have access to way more information instantly. They might know more just by clicking a mouse compared to his generation. But he questions if that speed always equals deep understanding. He points out many new ideas found in databases were actually figured out long ago by legends like Fisher or himself. Getting the info is easy. Truly understanding strategy, position, that still takes deep thought.
So wrapping this up, we see this incredible arc. Chess prodigy, strategic genius battling humans and machines, then this outspoken political figure, a thinker on decision-making, risk, intuition.
Yeah, and a constant theme running through it, based on the sources, seems to be struggle, competition. Against chess opponents, against deep blue silicon brain, and now against political systems he strongly opposes.
The core messages seem pretty consistent, though. Courage, trusting intuition, taking risks for progress, fighting against what he sees as tyranny and complacency. It feels like the chessboard was a training ground for his later battles.
Absolutely. Which leaves us with a really interesting question, doesn't it? How do those principles honed on the chessboard a world with clear rules, perfect information, relatively speaking, translate to the messy, uncertain world of politics and life? What can we learn from someone like Kasparov about the kind of courage it takes to challenge things, whether it's in our own lives or